Welcome to my YouTube channel. This channel used to be called Odd Directions. And to begin with, this channel was about my personal projects. And then it turned into a channel with creepypasta narrations for a long time. And now, once again, I'm turning it into a channel about my personal projects. And to reflect that, I have renamed the channel to Tobias Malm, which happens to be my name. And, well, what have I been doing since the last time I posted a video? Well, I have been writing. And so far, I have published 2 books. The first one is a short story collection called Julia Was a Special Girl and Other Unearthly Tales. And it looks like this. This book contains 23 short stories. I call them horror stories, but there's a mix of genres: horror, mystery, suspense, speculative fiction, science fiction. But the overall theme, I would say, is time travel and parallel universes. So if you like that kind of those kind of stories, then I would recommend you check my book out. That book out. It's all the stories are actually sourced from my account on Reddit. They are all my most popular stories on Reddit, on r no sleep to be specific. Some of the stories were very popular there, and some of them were just slightly popular, but I really loved the stories, so I added them into the short story collection anyway. So if you have read my stories over at No Sleep, you will recognize them, but they have been edited, they have been prolonged, some of them, they have been changed, and so it will still be a new experience. And the main story, Julia Was a Special Girl, was actually removed from No Sleep. So it was only there for a very short amount of time. So chances are that you haven't read that one at all, actually. It was removed because I think, No Sleep have this, I would say, ridiculously narrow rules, which takes a lot of the creativity out of writing and turns every story into a mirror of the next, and feels like I've been writing the same story over and over again there because of the rules. But in either case, they removed it because apparently they didn't think it matched the rules. And, I have to respect that, and it is what it is. But now it is available in my book anyway, so you can read it there together with my other stories. Okay, so the book is self-published, and it's available over at Amazon. So if you decide to read it, it would really help me and make me very happy if you would give it a review, either on Amazon or on Goodreads, or both. Whatever you pick, I will be very happy. So, okay, the next book. The other book that I published is a novel, and it's called The Cave to Another World. This story is also based on a short story over at Reddit, and that story was called something like My Friend and I Discovered a Portal to Another World Where Homo Sapiens Never Evolved. Now, that title was a little bit misleading because Homo Sapiens did evolve in the story. It's just that they went extinct before they could emigrate from Africa. And so they left the world dominated by Neanderthals and Denisovans. And Denisovans is another hominid species that lived in Siberia and in other parts of Asia. And in the story, they have created their own. These 2 species has created their own industrialized civilizations, and the story pretty much takes place in this world from the perspective of the 2 friends who discover a portal to that world. And the book is a prolonged version of the short story, and also a continuation of the short story. So if you have read the short story and you're curious how it ends, you can find that out in the novel. Okay, so again, it's available at Amazon, and please, if you have the time and you read it, review it, because that would really help me. I would be very happy. And of course, I want you to be honest in your reviews, so I can, see what you actually think about the book, because I'm very curious about that. So what have I been working on since I published those books? Well, I've actually finished another book, but only a first draft, and so I have to edit it. That book is also based on a No Sleep story. And that story was called Something Happened 65 Million Years Ago, and I Need Your Help to Stop It. It was a 3-part story, so it's very long. I think it was like 25,000 words or something in the end. And it got around 400 upvotes, which is not that much compared to my other stories. I mean, I'm very happy about that number, but compared to the others, my more popular stories, it's not that much. And so it wasn't obvious that I would turn this into a novel, because I usually try to pick stories that have a good potential to become popular as novels, and this it would have been quite risky to write a novel based on these upvotes, but it was also narrated by a YouTuber called Scary Yo-Yo, which you can see here, and he had a lot of success with his interpretation of the story. It got 115,000 views, it got almost 3,000 likes, and well, you can't see it, but it got a lot of comments as well. And so I thought, well, these numbers indicates that maybe a novel based on that story would be quite successful anyway. And so I did it. I turned it into a novel. It didn't take that long, because, as I said, it was already around 25,000 words, and this is a short novel, so it's only 50,000 words long. And yeah, as soon as I've edited it, you will get to read it. And I've named the novel "The Slime Against Time," because in the story there is a quasi-immortal slime mold. And so, yeah, it's a long story. It's a short story, but it's a long story how it all happens still. So if you enjoy slime molds as much as I do, and if you enjoy dinosaurs, or if you enjoy time travel stories, then I think that novel will be fun for you. So yeah, stay tuned to read it. And currently I'm working on another novel, and surprise, this novel is also based on a short story from No Sleep, and the short story was called Has Anyone Heard of the City? No one seems to remember it, and something horrific might have happened to it. Now, I have been talking about turning this story into a novel before. This is the story about the lost city of Corona, but I kind of put it on pause and wrote the other stories instead, because I felt it was so complex and I didn't know how to really make it work as a longer story. But I did solve that, and the way I did it was I turned it into a fictional journal. And the reason I did that was because, well, the structure of the story is that someone finds this notebook with the story in it, and it just wasn't realistic for someone to have scribbled down that entire book in a haste and put it somewhere. And it just became kind of ridiculous. Even when it was a short story, that was kind of a stretch. So I felt I had to turn it into a journal, because a journal could realistically have been written over a long period of time and then left somewhere. And so the story could have been like segmented, written in segments over time in the form of a journal. And so that is the logical reason why I did that. But I also happen to love journals, fictional journals, real journals. I just love them. I write my own journal. I've written a journal, a diary, since I was 17 years old. And so it was a no-brainer for me when I came up with that idea. Like, yeah, I got a good reason to actually write a fictional journal, which I have wanted to do for a long time anyway. I just hope that it won't get in the way of the reader's experience. But from when I look at it, I don't think it will get in the way. So hopefully I'm right about that, and you will like the novel just as much as the short story. So far I've written, I think, 70,000 words. And the thing is, I was actually planning on writing only 50,000 words to turn it into kind of a shorter book. I love short books because they can really carry a punch in a way that longer books often don't. But as I kept working on it, it's just kind of grew, and now it's at 70,000 words, and it's not done. I think it's going to end up at 100,000 words, or maybe in the 80, 90,000 word range. But so it's going to be quite long. Actually, it's going to be long enough for me to attempt to traditionally publish it if I would like to. The reason I've self-published my previous books is because, well, the novel is too short, and sadly, in traditional publishing, they very rarely publish short books, and especially very rarely publish short books by people who haven't published anything before. It's just unrealistic to, even if the book is an excellent book, it's very unlikely to get it published if it is too short. Like especially if it's science fiction, where they expect it to be like 100,000 words. So I thought that, I mean, I'm not going to win the lottery, right? It's not going to happen. So I self-publish it. And the short story collection, well, it's a short story collection, and publishers don't really want to publish that either. So I've self-published those books because I don't think there's a chance for me to traditionally publish it. But if this story turned out to be 100,000 words, and I feel happy about it in the end, and if I find it reasonable economically and so on, because obviously there is a like economical question or about if you can self-publish or not. There are more things to consider than if it's possible or not. It might still not be a good idea, but I might try to publish it traditionally if it seems to at least have a chance, to be published. So yeah, that is what I'm writing on right now. I'm also working on some other projects which I would like to talk about, and one of them is a children picture book that I am kind of basing on the picture books I wrote as a child. When I was a kid, I have loved writing or telling stories all the way back to kindergarten. My kindergarten teachers called me the little storyteller, and apparently I don't remember it myself necessarily. I do to a certain degree, but apparently I told a lot of stories. I just loved telling people stories, and as I grew a bit older, I started to make basically children picture books. We had these notebooks, or I don't know how to call it in English, what to say in English, but it was basically I'm going to ask ChatGPT, I think, because I want to know what that is called. Okay, so it's called a notebook, just as I thought. Anyway, so yeah, I had a notebook, and I painted in it, and I wrote text to the paintings, and I created a story that way. And I did a series of stories about an orange velociraptor. Okay, I had just seen Jurassic Park. I was 8 years old, and he was called Urban. Okay, so I kind of, in honor of, or as a homage to my work back then, I am writing a modernized version of it, basically. And so that's a bit of a side project I have. Other than that, I am working on a computer game. I have actually finished one game, which I might show you in some video. But that was a mobile game that I made mostly to learn how to make mobile games. And this is also a game I'm doing mostly to learn how to make it. It's a side scroller, and well, it's very reminiscent of the kind of side scroller games from the 90s that you might remember if you are as old as I am. And so I'm also working on a game, but I've actually put that project on pause because I'm saving up for an apartment, and it can be quite expensive to develop games. I try to do almost all of it myself, but there are still certain softwares and certain skills that I don't have that I might need to outsource. So I have decided to focus on projects I can afford until I have saved up enough money, and then I will start my game development journey again. But yeah, so I want to make videos about all of these projects, not just the books, but the other ones as well, and sometimes about other projects as well. I actually tend to, but I have another hobby, which is making small enclosed terrariums, and I would love to make videos about the process of making those as well. Actually, I can show you what I mean. Okay, so this is a small enclosed terrarium that I made, I think, 2 years ago, and it's still alive. It's I don't remember. I think I just picked the plants from outside, and I don't know which species they are, but they are really Still very healthy, and they have overgrown a little bit. I mean, they have really filled up the space, but I don't mind that. I think I just like to watch nature run its course and see how it will kind of survive in my little world that I made for it. And well, it's so far thriving actually, still after all this time. And so yeah, this looks like that, like a little potion. And yeah, I just love watching those grow. And another one, which is bigger, looks like this. And the plant in this one is a wandering yew. Now that sounds a bit anti-Semitic when I say it like that, but it's what the plant is called. It's called a wandering yew, and that is what is inside here. Besides that, there are moss. I don't know of which species. I just collected it outside, but yeah, there's moss in here, and also springtails. And springtails is, I think, yeah, it's a very small creature, an insect that eats mold and dead leaves and stuff. So they keep it clean in there. That's why you're supposed to add them. I didn't want to add them in a small one because I thought that was too small for them. But in the big one, they are living, I hope, their best lives. And other than those, there are actually, and I didn't discover this until like 2 years after I made it, but there are also centipedes inside it. There might be millipedes, but I do believe they are centipedes based on how they looked. I've only seen them like a handful of times. And again, it took 2 years before I saw them. And then since it took that long for me to see them, I have to conclude that there is a population of them living there. Like, it wasn't just individuals that came with it when I made it. They actually have a stable population that has, for them to have survived that long. And so there are, and I believe that they are eating the springtails. Like, there's a ecosystem there where the springtails eat dead leaves and whatever mold that they might find, and the centipedes eat the springtails, and so it goes round, round, round. And I haven't opened that for like 3-4 years, I think, that big one. And so yeah, I love making terrariums like that, and I want to show you how to make them and what it looks like to make them as well. So this channel, I don't want to have a niche. I guess the niche will be my projects, but I don't want to be a specific kind of project. I just want to show you the stuff I make. And I guess it might be shallow of me to want to show off my stuff, but as a creator, I feel that if I don't show you if I don't show people what I'm doing, it's as if it doesn't really exist. And because beyond the human, beyond observation, it's just atoms and empty space. And I think the magic happens in the consciousness of the observer and not in the object that is being observed. I think that is where the real art is. If I write a novel, the real novel is in the mind of the reader, not in the ink on the page. And yeah, so for my art to exist, people need to see it, people need to read it. And so this YouTube channel is kind of a way for me to make my art exist, at least outside my own mind. Because if I put a novel in a box or a painting in a box, it's just matter. And objectively, it doesn't look in a special way. It doesn't have any specific color or meaning or anything. It's just an inanimate object. So people need to see it for it to actually be art, and that's basically why I'm making this YouTube channel as well. Although I'm very open to the possibility that no one will actually watch it, but you gotta try. Anyway, I think it is for today, because I've been babbling for quite long now, and I don't want to bore you. But if you have watched this far, I am very grateful, and I hope you will come back to see some of my future videos about my different projects, the ones I mentioned, and other projects as well that I haven't mentioned. So yeah, thanks for watching, and please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like this video, or dislike it, or give me a comment with your feedback. I would appreciate all of it. And again, if you read my books, please review them. And I want you to do it honestly, because I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say. Now that's it. I'm not gonna try to convince you any further. Thank you, and have a good whatever time unit you're experiencing right now. Goodbye.